I didn't even realize anything was wrong the first time my GPS spoke to me. It was around 11:30 p.m., and I was driving home after a long shift, barely awake, eyelids stinging from exhaustion. The highway was dead, endless black on both sides, and the glow of the dashboard felt like the only sign of life in the world. I wasn't thinking about anything except getting home, showering, and collapsing into bed. So when the GPS said, "Turn right in 1 mile, driver number 2," I didn't process it. Not at first. I just blinked, rubbed my eyes, and assumed I'd misheard it. Maybe the speaker glitched. Maybe the voice lagged. Maybe my brain was melting from how tired I was. But then it repeated it. Same soft tone, same calm cadence. "Right turn ahead, driver number 2." I remember frowning at the screen, even though I knew the GPS couldn't see me. I wasn't even following a route. I'd only turned it on to have some background noise so I wouldn't fall asleep. I didn't need directions. This was the same road I took every night. Straight, 23 miles, 1 left turn, then home. So why did it think I needed to turn? And even more importantly, why did it think there was a second driver? I turned the volume down, but not off. I told myself it was nothing. A glitch, a software issue, whatever. 5 minutes passed. Quiet. Normal. Boring. Then the GPS said, with perfect clarity, "Please keep both hands on the wheel." That was when the first cold spike of fear crawled up my spine. I wasn't touching the wheel, but someone was. Because the wheel shifted, just slightly, to the left. Only half an inch. Barely anything, but enough to make the car drift. Enough to make me realize that my hands were in my lap and the wheel had moved on its own. I jerked forward and grabbed it instantly, pulling the car straight again, heart hammering so hard I felt it in the back of my throat. For a moment, all I heard was the hum of the engine and the thudding echo of my pulse. The GPS stayed silent, screen glowing a dull blue. Then it said, "Driver number 1 has resumed control." I swear my blood turned to ice. I pulled onto the shoulder so fast the tires skidded over gravel. I slammed the car into park and just sat there, breathing hard, staring at the GPS like it was a living thing. The screen showed a map of the highway, nothing unusual, no strange routes, no strange symbols, just a blinking icon of my car. Then a message appeared under it. Current driver, 1. Previous driver, 2. I stared at it so long my eyes began to sting. There had been another driver? When? Who? How? I opened the app settings, nothing strange. I restarted it. I unplugged the phone entirely. I even shut the car off, waited, and turned it back on. When the GPS rebooted, the message was gone. Okay, I whispered to myself, just tired, just hallucinating, nothing happened. But then a second message appeared. Please do not end route. Driver number 2 is not done. I swear every part of me wanted to throw my phone out the window and sprint into the woods. But I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just sat frozen, staring at the message until the screen dimmed. Then from the back seat, something shifted. A quiet, barely there sound, like fabric brushing against fabric. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My whole body locked up, trembling so hard I felt my bones shaking. The GPS spoke again. Driver number 2 requests that you continue the route. My throat was dry. I couldn't even swallow. Every instinct in my body screamed to get out of the car and run. But the idea of opening the door, of stepping into that silent, empty highway, felt even worse. I kept staring at the windshield, afraid that anything behind me might reflect. Then the car's overhead lights flickered on for half a second, just long enough for me to see the back seat in the mirror. There was someone sitting there. I didn't see the face, just the silhouette, just the shape, perfectly still, perfectly upright, and close. So close that if I reached back right then, my fingers would brush their knee. The lights went out again. Dark. The GPS whispered, barely audible, "Driver number 2 is waiting for you to continue." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. And then I heard it. A slow inhale. A slow exhale. Directly behind my right ear. Not a voice, not a word, just breathing. I put the car in drive without turning around. I didn't want to know what would happen if I didn't. The GPS recalculated on its own, even though I hadn't set a destination. It said, "Continue straight for 4 miles. Driver number 2 will take over soon." The breathing behind me grew louder. I pressed the gas pedal all the way down. I didn't dare look in the rearview mirror during those first minutes after I pulled away from the shoulder. If I saw something, anything, I knew I'd lose control of the car completely. So I kept my eyes glued to the road, knuckles white around the steering wheel, the engine growling as I pushed the car way faster than I normally would on such an empty, dark highway. My breathing was shallow, tight, painful in my chest, and my mind felt like it was blinking in and out, like I couldn't hold one stable thought without a wave of panic washing over it. The GPS spoke again. "In 3 miles, merge left. Driver number 1. Hearing that, hearing driver number 1 again, made me feel like my own identity was slipping, like I wasn't even the default occupant of my own car anymore. I felt exposed, as if there were eyes on me that weren't supposed to exist. My right ear tingled with the memory of that breath I'd felt in the back seat, the one that wasn't mine. I swallowed and forced myself to speak out loud, just to feel like I still had a voice. "Who's back there? What do you want?" No response. No breathing this time. Just silence. The kind of silence that felt aware. I loosened my grip on the wheel just enough to wipe my sweaty palm on my jeans. I kept staring forward, watching the road markings disappear under the headlights, counting them like it would keep me sane. 20, 40, 80, 100. I didn't know what I was counting toward. "In 2 miles, merge left," the GPS repeated. Then, softly, almost like a whisper, "Driver number 2 is preparing." That word, preparing, made my stomach twist painfully. I couldn't take it anymore. I flicked my eyes upward just for a second to the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty, completely empty. No silhouette, no shape, nothing. Just my own reflection staring back at me with wide, horrified eyes. Okay, I whispered, voice trembling. "Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I just..." The overhead lights blinked on again. Something was sitting in the back seat. Not a person. Not exactly. More like a shape. A mass of darkness. Humanoid, but wrong. So still it almost looked painted there. Its head was just barely tilted, like it had been watching me the entire time. The light snapped off. I slammed my fist into the steering wheel and swerved into the left lane far too early, tires screeching. My heart leapt into my throat, and I nearly lost control as the car fishtailed before stabilizing. The GPS chimed pleasantly. "Left merge confirmed.
"Thank you, driver number 1. My voice was barely a whisper. "Please don't call me that." No response. I realized I was crying, tears streaming down my face without me even noticing. I wiped them away quickly, terrified that taking a hand off the wheel would trigger something. The wheel felt too cold under my palms, like someone else had been gripping it right before me. I sped up again. Another mile passed, another stretch of dead highway, another frightening moment of silence. Then the GPS screen flickered. Just once. Barely noticeable. Then again. The map blinked, warped, and suddenly split into 2 screens, side by side. On the left was the highway, on the right, a video feed. But it wasn't from inside my car. It was from the vantage point of the back seat. It showed me, driving, eyes wide, face pale, breathing hard. The camera angle was low, like it was placed directly behind the passenger seat, pointed at me. I let out a strangled gasp and jerked the wheel, nearly veering into the guardrail. No. I reached for the phone, but before I could even touch it, the GPS said sharply, "Please return your hands to the wheel. Driver number 1 must maintain control until transfer."
I froze, then obeyed. Because something told me that if I didn't, whatever was back there, whatever had been sitting there in flashes of light, would move, act, do something I wouldn't survive. The live video feed continued. Perfectly stable, perfectly detailed, perfectly wrong. Because in the video, just behind my shoulder, I saw a dark smudge, almost like static, slowly creeping down from the roof of the car, like it was dripping downward. But when I glanced over my shoulder, nothing was there. The feed was showing something I couldn't see in real life, or something that wasn't revealing itself yet. The GPS voice returned, now lower, slower, more deliberate. "In 1 mile, prepare for transition." "What transition?" I whispered, throat tight. The GPS didn't answer. Instead, the video feed zoomed in slightly on me, on my hands gripping the wheel, on my chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Then zoomed again, tightening on the space directly behind me. A black shape was forming there, growing, taking shape, leaning forward, closer to the camera, closer to me. My breath caught in my throat as a faint whisper filled the car. "Slow down." I slammed my foot on the brakes out of pure instinct. The car shuddered violently, tires skidding, and I nearly lost control again. My seatbelt locked painfully across my chest. Everything shook for a split second, then settled. Silence. The GPS voice spoke softly, like it was speaking inside my skull. "Driver number 1 has yielded. Transfer can begin." No, I didn't yield. I hit the brakes because... But I didn't even know how to finish the sentence. Because what? Because I was scared? Because something told me to? Because something inside the car had whispered at me? I looked at the GPS screen again. A progress bar had appeared, filling slowly, labeled Driver Transition, 3%. I slapped the screen, trying to close the app, but the screen didn't respond. "Stop!" I shouted. "Stop!" The percentage climbed. 5%. 8%. 13%. I unplugged the phone from the charger. The screen stayed on, still showing the progress bar.
Still updating. 15%. 18%. 21%. The whisper came again, this time from both sides of the car, surrounding me. Let go. I felt the wheel tug gently under my hands, not forcefully, not violently, but insistently, like someone was trying to slide their hands into the same position as mine. I screamed and tightened my grip. No, no, get out of my car. The progress bar kept rising. 26%. 29%. 31%. The air in the car changed, thickened, harder to breathe, like the oxygen was being siphoned out by something sharing the space with me, something unseen, something patient, something that had been sitting in the back seat for a long time. The GPS voice returned, soft and calm. Driver number 2 will take control shortly. Please relax. I don't want to die, I choked out. And for the first time, the GPS responded directly to me. You won't die. Not yet. The progress bar jumped suddenly. 45%, 52%, 60%. Something touched the back of my neck. Cold, faint, like fingers made of fog. I screamed and slammed on the accelerator, jerking forward, trying to outrun something that was inside the car with me. The engine roared, the tires screeched, the whole vehicle shook. The progress bar slowed. 63%, 64%, 65%. The whisper came again, now directly beside my ear, so close I felt the vibrations of the sound without feeling breath. You can't run from who's already here. I sobbed, gripping the wheel with all the strength I had left. Get out, please, please! The world outside blurred. The GPS chimed one last time in part 2. In half a mile, driver number 2 will complete the transition. And behind me, something leaned forward. Something heavy. Something real. Something that wanted the wheel.
I kept driving faster and faster, like speed alone could keep whatever was behind me from completing that horrible transition the GPS insisted was happening. The highway blurred into a smear of white and yellow lines, and the roar of the engine drowned out everything except the pounding of my heart. But no matter how fast I pushed the car, I couldn't escape the cold pressure at the back of my neck, the one that curled down my spine like a wet finger tracing my vertebrae. The GPS progress bar climbed relentlessly. 66%, 67%, 69%. Each number felt like a countdown to my own body being stolen. I pressed my back harder into the seat, trying to get away from that phantom sensation, but it didn't help. The seat felt wrong now, like something was between me and the leather, something thin and shapeless that pressed closer the more I panicked. I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to see if the seat behind me was occupied again. But fear has a twisted gravitational pull, and finally, slowly, my eyes drifted upward. The mirror showed nothing at first, just the dark interior of the car, lit weakly by the dashboard glow, my own terrified eyes, my shaking shoulders. Then, the shadows behind me shifted. At first, I thought it was just my shaky hands changing the angle. Then the shadow moved again, subtly, as if something had pressed forward against the fabric of the seat, distorting it. A shape rose behind me. Not a human shape. Not quite. It didn't have edges or clear contours. It was like a clump of darkness, thick as smoke, but without the transparency. It leaned forward, its upper form swelling and shrinking, as if breathing. I whipped my eyes back to the road before I saw its face, if it had one. The GPS spoke again, and the voice was different now. Not robotic,
Not human either. It was layered, like two people speaking at once, the original GPS voice and something deeper beneath it. In a quarter mile, driver number 2 will reach the front seat. My breath caught. Reach the front seat, I said out loud. No, stay back. A low groan filled the car. Not mechanical, not digital, organic. It sounded like the strained exhale of something unfolding itself after years of being cramped. The GPS whispered, "Brace for transfer." I screamed, "Stop the car, I'm not doing this." The steering wheel jerked sharply left under my hands, a tug so sudden and powerful that the car swerved across the lane toward the median. I yanked the wheel back as hard as I could. My shoulder popped painfully and the car fishtailed. The tires squealed, scraping hard against the asphalt. The guardrail rushed up in my peripheral vision like a wall of metal teeth ready to chew the car in half. The GPS chimed politely. "Driver number 2 is assisting." I roared in fear and pulled the wheel so aggressively that my wrists cracked. Somehow, miraculously, I regained a straight line. The car steadied, but the cost was immediate. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, and I could feel a burning pain shooting down my arm. The progress bar surged. 73%, 76%, 80%. I could barely breathe. My chest felt like it was being squeezed by invisible bands. I wanted to stop the car and run, but every instinct screamed that stepping into the dark wilderness on either side of the highway would be worse. That the thing inside the car would follow me out there. But in the dark, I'd finally see it fully. I didn't want to see it. "Please," I begged. "Please, don't take me." A voice spoke directly behind my ear. Not the GPS, not a whisper. A voice. Male. Calm. Too close. "I'm not taking you." I couldn't move. My entire body locked. He continued, right next to my skull. "But someone has to drive us." My stomach flipped, my vision clouded at the edges. "Us? Who's us?" The voice chuckled softly, like I'd asked something innocent. "You'll see." I shook my head violently. No, get out of my car." "You called me, or did you forget?" My mind raced. "What are you talking about?" "You turned the GPS on. You opened the door." My heart stopped for a moment. "I didn't know." "It doesn't matter. You still opened it." And then the seat behind me creaked. Someone or something was shifting forward, leaning closer, moving into the space as if preparing to slide into the front seat. The progress bar jumped again. 83%, 89%. I slammed my foot down on the accelerator again, desperate to outrun progress itself. The world outside became a tunnel of headlights in motion blur. Wind screamed against the frame. The entire car shuddered like it was about to tear apart. But the voice behind me was steady. "You can't get away from the inside."
The GPS murmured through the speakers. "Driver number 1, your resistance is noted." I sobbed, my voice breaking. "Please, I don't want to die." "You're not dying," the voice said. "I told you that." "Then what's happening to me?" The creature shifted again, this time with weight, real weight. The car dipped slightly to the right as if someone heavy leaned toward the front. The overhead lights flashed on, and in the mirror, for the first time I saw it clearly. Or rather, them. It wasn't one shape. It was many, layered over each other like overlapping silhouettes, each shape quivering, shifting, sliding over the next, like multiple shadows fighting to be the one in front. No eyes, no mouth, just an arrangement of darkness that stretched long, thin arms toward the front seat. One shadow separated itself from the cluster, reaching for my shoulder. I slammed my palm against the overhead lights, turning them off before it could touch me. The darkness rushed back,
thick and heavy. The GPS said, "Driver number 2 has nearly reached position." The shadows whispered in unison, "You're almost done." "No, no, stay back!" The steering wheel twisted violently under my hands. The car lurched into the shoulder. Gravel blasted up against the underside of the frame. My vision jolted. I wrestled the wheel back to center, sobbing openly now. "What do you want from me?" The voice behind me answered, "Just a ride." "That's it?" I shouted. "Then take it! Take the car!" "No," it said, "not the car." "Then what?" "You." My entire body went cold, numb, hollow. It continued, "You're the vehicle." I felt something slip under my arms like cold bands trying to wrap around my ribs. "Stop!" I begged through clenched teeth. "Please stop!" The GPS beeped again. 99%. The voice behind me exhaled slowly, pleased, satisfied. Then it said, "Transition complete." And suddenly, I couldn't feel my hands. Not like numbness, not like pins and needles. Like they weren't connected to me anymore. I saw them on the steering wheel, my fingers still holding on, but I couldn't feel them, couldn't move them. My arms didn't respond when I tried to pull back. My legs wouldn't move off the pedals. I screamed, but my voice cracked into silence. And then, my right hand turned the wheel. Not by my will, by theirs. The car drifted smoothly into the left lane, perfectly controlled. I was no longer driving. I was no longer steering. I was no longer in control. The voice behind me whispered one last thing as the car moved entirely on its own. "Welcome, driver number 2.
I don't remember stopping the car. I don't remember pulling over. All I remember is the way the world seemed to tilt when the GPS said he was driving, and the way my own hands didn't feel like mine anymore. I sat there in the driver's seat, engine humming softly under me, headlights cutting a pale corridor through the dark trees. The screen still glowed, cold blue, waiting. Driver, unknown. Route, active. ETA 000. The time mocked me. Like I had finally run out of road. Like the trip was over, no matter where I actually was. My breath fogged the windshield, but there was something wrong with the pattern. My exhale started normally, then stopped halfway, then continued, like someone else was finishing it for me. I wiped the glass with my sleeve and felt fingers brush mine. Not my fingers. Colder. Longer. I froze. The car's interior was silent, except for the soft click of the hazard lights I never turned on. Red light pulsed on the trees, on the road, on my own face reflected in the windshield. I looked at the reflection and my stomach dropped. The reflection wasn't matching me. When I blinked, it didn't. It just stared ahead, like it was waiting for something. I turned my head slowly toward the passenger seat. Empty. But the seatbelt was pulled tight, like someone had just finished buckling themselves in. My chest tightened, breath stuttering, air refusing to fill my lungs evenly. My hand shook as I reached for the seatbelt buckle, then stopped. The buckle wasn't just pulled. It was sunk, like something with weight, was sitting there, something I couldn't see, but the indentation on the fabric was fresh, deepening slowly like whatever was there was leaning closer. The GPS spoke again. "You shouldn't have stopped." It was my voice, exhausted, hollow, like a version of me who hadn't slept in days. I swallowed hard, throat suddenly dry and burning. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. The GPS crackled, screen glitching briefly into static before reforming into my route, except the road on the map had changed. It wasn't a highway anymore. It was a single red line looping into a spiral, over and over, tightening toward a point in the center labeled only Arrival. My voice on the GPS answered, "You want you to let go." Something shifted in the back seat, a soft sound, like fabric stretching. I didn't want to look. My eyes stung from not blinking, but I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't even think straight. The rearview mirror tilted itself downward with a quiet creak. I felt the air behind me thicken, like someone had leaned forward slowly, bringing their face inches from mine just out of sight. The mirror gave me only a shape, a silhouette, sitting exactly behind me. A head? Shoulders. My shape. Not moving. Not breathing. Just watching me. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard my fingertips went numb. The silhouette leaned forward and I saw the faintest suggestion of a smile forming, but not with lips, just the outline shifting, widening, stretching into something too broad to be human. My throat locked, mind screaming for me to move, to fight, to do anything other than sit there. The GPS spoke again, but this time the voice wasn't mine, not even close. It was deeper. Wet, like something speaking through a throat it wasn't used to. "Switch seats."
I shook my head violently. "No," I whispered, barely able to push the word out. The silhouette leaned closer. The seatbelt tightened around me, pulling me backward, pinning me to the seat. I yelped and grabbed at the belt, but it ratcheted tighter and tighter until each breath burned like my ribs were splintering. The car door locked itself with a harsh click. The GPS glowed bright white. Driver, transferring. I screamed, kicking the dashboard, clawing at the belt, anything. But then I felt it, the cold pressure of a hand wrapping around the top of my skull, slowly, gently, like it was trying to guide me back, trying to tilt me toward the thing waiting in the shadow of the back seat. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. The pressure on my head increased. My reflection in the windshield started smiling, wide and wrong, stretching the mouth too far. I wasn't smiling. I couldn't even close my lips, but the reflection was delighted. The voice behind me whispered, my voice, perfectly matched. "Let me drive." I felt something cold touch the back of my neck. Not a hand, something smoother, flatter, like a face pressing slowly into my skin. The seat behind me moved as the silhouette leaned fully forward, its weight sinking the cushion down until my body was forced upright by it. Every muscle trembled, my vision blurred, the GPS chimed. Transfer complete. Something snapped inside me, not a bone, but something mental, something deeper, because I suddenly felt lighter, like the panic was no longer mine. The fear was drifting away, draining out of my limbs, like it was being taken from me, absorbed by the thing behind me. My hands fell from the seatbelt, my breathing steadied, my pulse slowed to a calm rhythm. The silhouette leaned back, satisfied. The seat behind me rose slightly, the weight lifting. The cold left my neck. The reflection on the windshield matched me again. The hazard lights turned off by themselves. The GPS voice, the real one, the default robotic voice, spoke with pleasant neutrality. Continue on the current road. I blinked slowly, calm, empty, like waking from a long, strange dream. I put the car back in drive. My hands were steady on the wheel. I didn't look in the mirror. I didn't check the passenger seat. I didn't question the sudden quiet peace settling inside me. Something had changed, but asking what felt pointless, like it didn't matter anymore. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, the line on the GPS no longer spiraling, just a straight path forward. Driver, confirmed. Identity, unknown. The voice that spoke next wasn't the GPS. It came from inside the car, from everywhere at once. Thank you for the ride. I smiled without deciding to, and I kept driving, into the dark, without looking back.